Welcome. Welcome to the Life on Track online event where we share with you how to turn your hardship into peace, purpose, and prosperity. Be resilient and confidently, powerfully create the life you want. I'm your host, Erin Lane. I'd love to get right into it. This interview is titled, Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. So I'll introduce my incredible expert, Mark Victor Hansen, by first reading Mark's bio because it's incredible and I don't want to leave anything out. Mark is widely known as an American inspirational and motivational speaker, trainer, author, serial entrepreneur, and member of multiple board of directors. He's best known for the founder and co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series with more than 500 million books sold. In the area of human potential, no one is better known or more respected than Mark Victor Hansen. For more than 44 years, he has focused solely on helping people and organizations reshape their personal vision of what's possible. His powerful message of possibility, opportunity, and action have helped create startling and powerful change in thousands of organizations and millions of individuals worldwide. With his open, honest, endearing, charismatic style, Mark captures his audience's attention as well as their hearts. With his one-of-a-kind technique and masterful storytelling ability, he is one of the most dynamic and compelling speakers of our time. You may know Mark as that Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. Mark and his business partner, Jack Canfield, created what Time magazine called the publishing phenomenon of the decade. With more than 500 million Chicken Soup for the Soul books sold around the world and over 100 licensed products in the marketplace, it is one of the most successful publishing franchises in the world today. The Chicken Soup idea was just one of many that have propelled Mark into the worldwide spotlight as a sought-after keynote speaker, best-selling author, futurist, business leader, and marketing maven. Ask, the bridge from your dreams to your destiny, and you have a book in you. Mark believes it again has lightning in a bottle and it will outsell even the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. The author of many books such as 1 Minute Millionaire, Cracking the Millionaire's Code, Cash in a Flash, The Richest Kids in America, How to Make the Rest of Your Life the best of your life, The Master Motivator, The Power of Focus, The Aladdin Factor, Dare to Win, The Miracle of Tithing, and others. Mark Victor Hansen has an extensive library of audio programs, video programs, and enriching articles in the areas of big thinking, sales performance, marketing, publishing, and personal and professional development. His energy and exuberance travels still further through the mediums such as television, as like Oprah, CNN, the Today Show, print like Time, U.S. News and World Report, USA Today, the New York Times and Entrepreneur, and countless radio and newspaper interviews as he assures everyone of the inherent genius in all of us if we choose to access our centers of influence, leverage our strengths, and take action. And now hundreds of podcasts worldwide. Mark Victor Hansen is the founder of Mega Book Marketing University, Mega Speaking Empire, Mega Marketing Magic, and Enlightened Millionaire Institute. Each of these annual conferences speaks to the specific needs of those who want to discover, create, and launch business empires. A passionate philanthropist and humanitarian, Mark teaches the principles of the 4 types of tithing: thinking, time, talent, and treasures. Favorite charities are Horatio Alger Scholarships, Habitat for Humanity, American Red Cross, Operation Smile, Oceana, and Wyland Foundation, March of Dimes, Covenant House, and is currently co-chairman with his beloved wife, Crystal, of Childhood Global Fundraising Campaign. In the year 2000, the Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans honored Mark with the prestigious Horatio Alger Award. Each year, this association honors American leaders who personify the virtues and principles inherent in the success stories written by 19th century American author Horatio Alger Jr. As an award winner, Mark Victor Hansen's extraordinary life achievements stand as a powerful example that the free enterprise system still offers an opportunity to all. In 2004, Mark was inducted into the Sales and Marketing Executive International's Hall of Fame, receiving the Ambassador of Free Enterprise Award. He is also the recipient of the 2004 Visionary Philanthropist for Youth Award by Covenant House of California. In 2000, Northwood University honored him as the Outstanding Business Leader of the Year. In 2002, the University of Toledo presented Mark with an honorary PhD in business administration and established the Mark Victor Hansen Entrepreneurial Excellence Fund, which will help shape the minds of future business leaders and assist in the development of faculty who will teach them. Additionally, Mark has 10 honorary doctorates. Mark Victor Hansen presents 50 seminars each year, serves as chairman of Mark Victor Hansen and Associates, Inc. He is co-founder and chief visionary officer of Chicken Soup for the Soul Enterprises, Inc., and is the president of 1 Minute Millionaire, LLC. To sum it up, Mark Victor Hansen is an enthusiastic crusader of what's possible and is driven to make the world a better place. Welcome to the Life on Track online event.
Wow.
That is just incredible.
It's hard for me to believe I did that.
I know. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Thank you.
And
you didn't miss anything. You're the best researcher I know. Congratulations to you.
Well, thank you very much. I had a little help. It's so funny.
Wow.
It's incredible. I think I had to practice reading that about 50 times for bringing you on. It's absolutely incredible. I'm so impressed. And for everybody listening, what a man. You've proven and you demonstrate and you illustrate what people can do. It's limitless. And the first question that I ask every expert in this event will always be the same. And the reason I like to ask what I'm about to ask you, Mark, is for those of you who are listening, you can hear that at some point in our lives, we all experience that moment when a door closes and we're navigating the dark hallway, looking for that next door to open. So, Mark, what would you say was the biggest motivating factor behind your decision to focus much of the work, on what you're doing today, what you've done for a lifetime?
I went bankrupt, which was my worst experience. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are hanging on by their fingernails, metaphorically speaking, right now, like I was. In 1974, I'd been in graduate school with this Bucky Fuller, Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller, Einstein's best student, the guy who did geodesic domes and a lot of patents, 40 books, 15 doctorates at Harvard. And I went and heard him when I was a young man in graduate school, and I went, oh my gosh, this guy knows stuff. So I begged him to let me work with him for 7 years, and I tried to be Bucky. I built the Wall Street Racket Club in New York and the Botanical Gardens, but I was building out of PVC plastic when the oil embargo hit, and I crashed and burned so fast. I literally had to check a book out of the library because I didn't have any money, how to go bankrupt by yourself. And for 6 months, I'm hanging out, sleeping in a sleeping bag in front of another guy's room in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. And suddenly it came to me, what I really want to do is I want to talk to people that care about things that matter, that would make a life-changing difference. So I went down to my roommates at breakfast, 3 guys, and I said, any of you guys know anyone young that's not a cotton top, not a professional speaker, maybe, and not a lawyer or a doctor or a celebrity or a famous person? The guy said, yeah. There's a kid a couple years older than you teaching real estate. He's a wow. Out in Hauppauge, Long Island, New York. He pulled out a piece of paper and said, here's my VIP pass. You go and just tell them you're me. They don't know who's coming. I went and I watched this guy 3 hours. I raced my little beat-up old Volkswagens. The bankruptcy courts had not taken from me. Mesmerized. I walked up to this guy, Chip Collins, who became my great close friend forever. And I said, Chip, Mark Victor Hansen, and I would love to buy you lunch and ask you all the questions. And he said, you want to be a speaker? The chance of making it is 1 in 1,000, but I'll tell you what to do if you'll stay out of real estate. That's my market. You go life insurance, I'll tell you who to go to start. Anyhow, long story short, I did 1,000 talks the first 3 months. As you can see, I believe that you got to visualize to realize, one of the sets of tapes I did long ago, but you've got to take mighty action, massive action to get massive results, because most people take minimal action and get almost no results. And so, when I'm doing all those talks, and then I'll let you ask any question after this, they said, yeah, that story in the book, that was really good. I want to share it with my wife and kids. I said, wow, I'll do a book. And I did a book called Stand Up, Speak Out, and Win. I got 14 other people to put up $2,000. I just wrote 1 chapter, so I learned about multi-author books in the beginning. And I sold 20,000 copies, Aaron, from a platform at $10 each. Now I've been making about $75,000 a year as a speaker, and now suddenly I sold the book and I made $200,000+, tripled my income. And I said, oh my gosh, I really love this. I'm going to keep doing this. So I got really good at it. Now I've written 309 bestsellers and Now I want everyone to write a book, and I've got a book out called You Have a Book in You, and a whole course that we've done. If they go to my website, markvictorhansen.com, we teach everyone how to pull it out and make a fortune with books if that's of interest to you.
That
now
is an
I'll
incredible story. That is, it's like after I read your bio, and now I'll take a breath. That's an incredible story. And for anybody, who's in fear, because a lot of people are getting laid off because of COVID, and it's so encouraging to know that you were, financially at your wit's end, and you just stayed focused on your goals, and you kept taking action. And we have to do that with 6 feet, distancing and masks, and but it doesn't mean that you have to stop. And you stayed in your goal. You stayed true to your goal, and you kept your sights there.
Exactly, and that's where, Aaron, and that's where everyone is right now. And so I've written a free book. Everyone can have it if they go to my website, markvictorhansen.com. It's called, I love the title, called How to Be Up in Down Times. And I did it with a little chicken lady called Mitzi Purdue, who's 84, and she's just a pistol. I love this woman so much. And my wife and I are all best friends. I've never physically met her, but she's a phenomenal writer. She does 22 million chickens a week. If you've ever bought chicken at Costco for $4.99, you bought organic, free chicken. Anyhow, Mitzi and I said, look, we're going to be in the doldrums here. If you know, I'm a sailor, and doldrums means a dead wind for a while. And now how are we going to get the 50 million people that are unemployed right now that aren't going to have something to go back to unless they learn how to do virtual marketing? So I wrote the foreword to the book, and then we wrote the book together, and we said, look, we're going to do 50 trillion. That's not spelled with a B, that's spelled with a T, in America in this decade. Everyone can be part of it because it's a giant business. I talk about the 7 fastest growing businesses ever. One right now needs 22 million new employees, and it doesn't have a name of what the employees are going to do because the business is new. But the business is called, I've metaphorized it because I love to put titles on it, and I teach people how to write a best-selling title, but how to put trash into cash. Every one of us creates 5 pounds of garbage a day, whether you want to or not. Our garbage and landfills are full. And so this guy named Dean Rose in Michigan has figured out, he spent $300 million, 20 years figuring out how to take metal and get it back to metal in constituent parts of the atoms and molecules, glass back to glass, plastic back to plastic, water back to water. And he's going to do, trillions of dollars, and we need 22 million people working with a company called QCI. That's just one. And what happens is, will the national media talk about it? No. So am I talking about it on podcasts? Yes. Because I'm saying, hey, wait a second. What I teach in the book, the first thing is the yin and the yang, which is a 6,000-year-old symbol, says crisis equals opportunity. Therefore, I don't think anyone listening now or in the future to this podcast will disbelieve that we got 3 crises. We don't have one. We have COVID-19, which is a bad crisis, right? Probably propagated by Chinese, and I've worked in China long enough for 22 years to believe that. Number 2, you've got the crisis of the economy because the economy has been shut down for 3 months. And then number 3, the one that I'm trying to help overcome with this call, and I'm so thankful we get to talk openly about it, is overcome fear. Because Napoleon Hill, who you and I are scholars in, said, he wrote all the fireside chats for FDR. You may or may not know that. And he wrote all those lines like, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. Confront your fears and make it disappear. And right, what happens is we've got to make sure we're not fearful, because if you are, you get shut down. This beautiful 18 billion brain cells of you in your mind-brain continuum. And if you are positive, open, and listen to podcasts like this and attend great seminars and podcasts and listen to great tapes and watch good videos on YouTube instead of the news, and shut off the news, no more than 15 minutes of doldrums, negativity a day, now you can go out and succeed, because we're going into the greatest opportunity in human history.
I agree. I kept saying that when the whole thing. Yeah. And I kept saying that when this was going on, that there's going to be, I saw so much opportunity on the other side of the virus. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah. So what I want to do is, we wrote, Mitzi and I and one guy named Preston Weeks wrote How to Be Up and Down Times, because we said, oh my gosh, everyone's going to be freaked out, and they're going to stay freaked out. And we're talking about not you and I. We're talking about not just Americans, 330 million. We're talking about 8 billion people, and 8 billion panicked, freaked out, scared, depressed, despondent, disconsolate people are going to make a lot of mistakes unless they listen to positive, inspirational, uplifting stuff, which is what got me out of my bankruptcy back in 1974 to close the loop on that. Luckily, I'd sold my way through college because my parents didn't have any money. And I got a tape by the dean of speakers, a lovely guy named Cabot Robert, who was one of my close friends, called either The Creature Circumstance or The Creator. And I listened to that one tape 287 times. And I went, oh my goodness gracious, I created this, so I can uncreate it and recreate it. Now, we did not in America create COVID. I think Anthony Fauci had a lot to do with it, and that's what the news media is saying now. So he's, as far as I'm concerned, he's in a deleterious position. I'll use nice languaging because he gave it to Wuhan war position in China, and China wants to dominate the world. I mean, that's just what it is. We can talk to that if you want, but it's probably negative, so I'll leave it alone.
Yeah,
I love capitalism. I love free enterprise.
I do too.
And if you've read Napoleon Hill, you know that you got to do it. And if you go backwards and read Andrew Carnegie said, we got to have free enterprise. And my daddy, who was just a Danish immigrant, but a lovely, brilliant man, illiterate in English but great in Danish, would say to my brothers and myself, I don't have any sisters, say, boys, free enterprise means the more enterprising you are, the freer you are. That's why I learned work ethic. 18 hours a day to a baker is no big deal. That's normal. So, he wanted me to take over the bakery, and I said, Dad, I love you, but that isn't going to happen. I think I'm a white glove guy. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure I am one.
I love it. And you're right. The capitalism is really, first of all, it's what makes this country great. We don't want to be dependent on the government. We don't want to, because then it's like being handcuffed. And you lose your freedom at that point. Yeah, you lose your freedom at that point, right. Definitely. And I want to stay focused on what people can do and not. I don't want to put people in anger and fear and all. There's enough of that going on.
Right.
But I want to stay focused and give them the tools to like the topic that you're going to speak to, how to be rich on the inside, so that you can live the life that of your dreams. And you spend time on Long Island. I'm in Smithtown, which is so funny. So
it's beautiful there. Yeah.
So you spend a lot of time.
We're going on a holiday back in the East Coast. We'll be out there touring. We're on the biggest show, assuming New York opens up on September 1st. Then I'm taking my family out to do a little tour of everything from the Woolworth Mansion, which, by the way, those of you that aren't rich need to go to places that are palatially rich, like not far from her is, Sagamore Hill by Teddy Roosevelt, and you've got to go to the Woolworth Mansion. Yeah. You got to go up the Hudson and see all the great, elegant stuff by Rockefeller and all that. And once you get there, you go, wow, those guys were human beings. And they made a decision in consciousness, imploded into the subconscious. They kept telling themselves they were going to be rich. They're going to figure out how to do it. They're going to go the extra mile. And they made the decision, and then the universe is glad to make the provision, because there's fundamental abundance, ladies and gentlemen, in the universe. The oldest spiritual literature, the Upanishad, says, out of abundance, he or she took abundance, and still abundance remained. And that's why when Bob Allen and I wrote 1 Minute Millionaire, which is a rockin' bestseller, I believe that if you're going to run a business, it's got to be unique, transformational, and inevitable. Transformational means you can't look at a caterpillar and produce butterfly. And we use the butterfly in the front end of the 1 Minute Millionaire book because it is the universal symbol of freedom. And so what we did is we did a story about a woman that was destitute and was going to lose her kids and everything, and how she got out of it. And in 3 months went from $0 to $1 million, got her kids back. But we teach the 24 principles of how to build wealth on the left side. And then, it's all starts in the mind, and then you got to use your behind just a little bit.
You're funny. I love that. And it's all in the action. It's all in the action. You and I talked offline for a few minutes, and everybody's heard this 1,000 times. I had cancer in 1991, but I believe everything is mindset. I believe everything is mindset. But you have to take the action. And I always said, celebrate life and you'll have a life worth celebrating. Doctors were telling me I was going to die, like to get my things in order. I was 25 years old. I was working on Wall Street before I was diagnosed, and everything was just all happy, happy, joy, joy. And then now I'm being told I didn't even have any hair. I was being told I was going to die, and I wouldn't allow myself to go there. And I said, my mind is more powerful than what these doctors have with regard to chemo. And I read a lot of books, and I did a lot of like that Think and Grow Rich, and just a lot of meditation, visualization. And I lived, but that happened twice, where they came in crying, teams of doctors. And I loved them. They tried their best, but they came in crying, saying that I was going to die. I wasn't going to make it out of Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. And I, not very politely, but I told them to leave my room. And I was getting out of there. And I was getting out of there. I'm like, no, you're wrong. Get out of my room. But and then the same thing, and I went on to have 3 kids that they told me was not going to happen. And then Sloan Kettering started having their patients call me at home because they're still scratching their forehead, like, how did I live? How did it not reoccur? And I'm 54 now, and how did I go on to have 3 kids? So they started having their patients call me at home. For years, I coached cancer patients, just to help them get through and their families, help them get through the trauma. That's how I started coaching before it was the 90s, before it was even vogue to call it coaching. But I love helping people get focused, fearless, and excited about life and their future, instead of staying in the worry and the fear. And I went through the same thing after the divorce, which was only a couple of years ago, heartbroken. But I took the skills that I learned then and implemented it, starting from scratch, like what you were talking about earlier, starting from scratch. And what a difference it makes when you have that mindset and you take the action. And I mean,
attitude
it's
is everything, and you just did it. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to walk in you. I thought
no, go ahead.
Stopped.
No, this is your interview.
Yeah, I think you ought to write another book. Yeah, you ought to write another book and keep doing the coaching on be excited and then the other 2 words. And the reason is because when you're excited, then you will be fearless, because either fear is bigger or faith is bigger. And obviously you made your faith bigger to get well and overcome it. Then you exercise your mind in the right way. And mindset creates money set. Mindset creates health set, right? Mindset creates wealth set. Your mind is like a thermometer. So if, and a thermometer, like right now, I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's 110 degrees outside right now. And because we're in summer and that's normal, but I set the temperature to be at 74 and it's perfect in here and it's wonderful. And I'm looking out and it's idyllic. The point is, if you set your mind to, I'm going to earn 100,000, you earn 100,000. It doesn't cost anymore. It's 1 0 different to say I'm going to make $1 million a year. And when I was taught that, I had a guy in the life insurance business in New York tell me, I sat with the world's bestseller at the time, Ben Feldman, who was on cover of all magazines, and Ben, who was with New York Life, said, hey, look, Mark, if one of your kids, I got 5 kids and 6 grandkids, if one of your kids' life depended on it, could you go from earning $400 a day, which is $100,000 a year, 250 work days, to $1 million, $4,000 a day? I said, of course I could. And he said, well, then go do it. Start tomorrow. And I did. And it by the way, you get to $1 million earning and your life changes. It's miraculous. It's wonderful. It's uplifting. And I want everyone to earn more than they've ever earned, but that's mindset. But the same thing's true of health. When you started getting excited about life, there's stress, which is middle. There's EU stress, positive stress, according to Dr. Hansen, the stress guy who created all of it. And then there's de-stress. Well, right now, most people are in de-stress. They're wrecking their body. They're wrecking their mind. They're wrecking their soul. And I'm just trying to shock all of you to wake up, to go back from de-stress to stress to eustress, to get into positivity. Listen to only positive music. Watch only positive broadcasts on TV, TED Talks, my talks, whatever, her talks. Only get a positive coach like Aaron, and by the way, because 1/3 of Americans die of cancer, which is, the reason we did Chicken Soup with their survival soul is because we found all the 101 ways to get out of cancer, like we were talking about Norman Cousins, who laughed his way out of it in L.A., and he was my teacher's best friend. And, the point is you get the endorphins going when you're excited, when you're positive, when you're optimistic, when you're opportunistic, when you've got a big business in front of you, you didn't have time to die, because then you said, well, now I'm going to have 1 kid, and then you get 2 more, and you got 3 kids, and you got a nice trio, and you're in happy land. And if you're happy, you're healthier. Does that make sense, Erin?
Absolutely. And I say the same thing that you're saying. You said it beautifully. And I always say the humor is part of the cure. I'm a firm believer that humor is definitely a huge part of the cure. And when you're laughing, it sets the endorphins up in the brain. It's the best immune booster that you could do for yourself. And it's something that you can do for yourself. And I want to ask you, just for like tangible things that people could actually do, like to take action with, what can they do for themselves? Like a few steps that they can take on the road to riches. I totally get the mindset. What can they do in addition to mindset to help them get to be that 1 minute millionaire?
Okay, so we got a new book out called ask the bridge from your dreams to your destiny, and every one of you has a destiny. And the way you get to your destiny is, we call it the destiny triangle, and we're saying, hey, look, what is your life purpose? And the way that you answer that, if that's the top of the triangle, is what am I best at? And the way you find that out very technologically is ask 10 of your friends to write out. If I were Aaron, let's assume we're best friends, I say, write me a page of what I, Mark Victor Hansen, am best at. And then you get that from 10 people, you'll be blown away, because whatever you're best at, you're probably going to like, which is the second part of the triangle. And the third thing is, then you figure out, how am I going to make a substantial fortune that's reoccurring doing that? And in my business, because I own a bunch of businesses, but in the book business, you know, the books like 1 Minute Millionaire, I wrote it 20 years ago, and we're just back from Vietnam before this all hit for a second time in a row, where I'm the number one book there 20 years later. So we have a reoccurring revenue from something I wrote 20 years ago. When you introduced me, you said, you know, I got the best-selling set tapes at Nightingale Kona called How to Think Bigger Than You Ever Thought You Could Think. I did those like 18 years ago, and they're selling like crazy, because, you know, if you're going to be alive and you've got a destiny, you got a choice. You can either think nothing, which is dangerous, you know, then the world's going to tell you what to do. You think something, just, okay, I'm just going to get along. That's not okay as far as I'm concerned. If you're alive, you've got a great destiny, and you might as well think big, and act big, talk big, get big results, and you'll attract big stuff. And we're at a time now where, because we've all had to come back to reinvent ourselves, pivot, we've had to renew ourselves. We had to resurrect what it is. What do I really want to do? Because, you know, all the people in all the airlines, I'll just pick on airlines because I traveled 250,000 miles a year traveling around the friendly skies for 44 years so far, and they're basically shut down still pretty much. But, you know, I love the airline people, but they're only keeping 30% of the management, and all the major airlines are only keeping 30% of the pilots. They're only keeping 30% of the flight attendants and the mechanics, and we can go through it, and it breaks my heart, because all those people are going to have to say, hey, wait a second, I'm honest, I'm ethical, I'm hardworking. You know, I've got a lot of time here at whatever airlines, Delta, United, Southwest, it doesn't matter. The point is, they got to go do something new, and they ought to figure out, look, there's 37,000 kinds of occupations in America. What is it that I would really want to do? What is it that I'd love to do? What is it that I'd be good at? And how do I make a substantial income at it? And then, because we still got some parts of America and the world locked down, what is it that I can do virtually? Meaning, can I do it online? Can I do it on telephone? Because the telephone I'm holding now has more computing power. Buzz Aldrin, who's the first astronaut in the moon and a good friend of mine and a neighbor, you know, said, we got more computing in that little telephone of yours than I had going to the moon and back. So we are in a very interesting time if you're awake, alive, enthusiastic, and the word you used a minute ago, excited, because you make yourself bigger and better with that white-hot, burning excitement to hit your magnificent obsession, which I'm calling your destiny.
I love it.
Are you there, Aaron?
Yes, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's you have so much experience, and you have so much wisdom, and you give it all away in your books. Really, like, you share it with the world, and I love that about you. You know, there's a lot of people that hold their quote unquote secret, or whatever you want to call it, close to the vest, and they don't give it all away. Like, you give it all away, and you want people to. I call that the creative lane instead of the competitive lane. You know, competitive lane, when you get a little bit ahead, like crabs in a bucket, pulling them down, but you're spinning out and going sideways. Where you're in the creative lane, and you're just expanding your world, and you want everybody around you to expand their world, and that's what I love about you. And you're such an amazing man. And you've done amazing things. You. And you're incredible. And thank you.
Well, there's enough abundance for all of us.
Yes.
You can't breathe all the air that exists. That's how much abundant air there is, and we're getting cleaner, better air. And let me just do a bold ask for everybody that's paying attention, is that I want you to get a copy of our book, Ask, The Bridge from Your Dreams to Destiny. I wrote it with my wife, who's way wiser and way more brilliant, and for sure more beautiful. She's a top model and top a lot of things, and a clinical hypnotherapist, on and on. But the point is, when you get then go to askthebookclub.com. We're building right now the world's biggest book club, so people can ask us anything they want. We're going to get together. You're going to get together with like-minded people, and literally it's going to be from around the world, because we've been shut down for 3 months. Our publishers, I've got you have a book in your book out right now, and we've got Ask, The Bridge from Your Dreams, Your Destiny, and we've got 5 more books coming out shortly just because we've been a little busy writing and having fun. But we're doing 2 to 5 podcasts a day, and one day last week we started with 2 podcasts in America, 1 in Canada, 1 in Ireland, and 1 to 10 million people in Vietnam at the end of the day. And I thought, wow, this one in Vietnam. I love Vietnamese people. I hate communism. And I'm teaching Vietnamese to make sure they keep China out of Vietnam and China out of, like they're trying to take over India as we talk today. And if you're listening to this in the future, hopefully that does not happen. I love Indians and India, and they can't have the China South Sea. And I'm a little political there, but that I'm very biased against people being omnivorous and stealing, like Tibet against the Dalai Lama. The point is that everybody needs to learn free enterprise. 100% of the people around the world need to learn it. And our publisher said, well, wait a second. You can only sell books this way with Amazon and Walmart.com. And I said, great. And they said, you can't go to the bookstores aren't going to open for a while. So I said, great. I said, I'll figure it out. And so I'm selling more books than anybody has ever sold because we're doing the podcast. And then we're on that one in Vietnam. And the next morning I get called while I'm doing another interview, and it's a FaceTime. And the guy says, you got to take this call. And I go, oh, yeah. I took it, and it was a guy who's a billionaire in London said, I just listened to you in a podcast in Vietnam, and I run all the airline magazines. I run all the boat magazines like Norwegian, and I run American Ways on American. And I think you must be the best idea guy around. They won't let us have magazines on airplanes. Mark, have you got an idea? And I said, Simon, yeah. What do we do? We'll put all the magazines in the phone. If you like my idea, you got to let me bring in my information of my friends, and we'll do it as avatars and everything as we go forward here on the phone. So if you get on, like, say, American Airlines, it pops up that your American Airlines magazine's on the phone, then the person has to kill it. He said, what a great idea. We'll do it with you, Mark. It's just wonderful. And I'll call you back on WhatsApp. And it's amazing what you can do if you're positive and stuff comes to you that you can't get if you're going, oh, man, it's a dull day and I'm sick and I'm tired and I'm depressed. That shuts you down, shuts the world down. And if somebody had a deal for you, they would kill the deal. Does that make sense, Erin?
Yeah, absolutely. And Sharon Lecter said worrying is just a prayer for what you do not want. Like when
Correct.
You're worrying.
Worry is
like
a one-way elevator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Backwards. It's a one-way elevator going down.
Right. So if
and
you
you
have
will
a choice,
crash and burn if you keep worrying.
Exactly. So if you have a choice of either worrying or being in gratitude and abundant and that kind of a mindset versus fear and worry, and obviously with faith, that just ignites everything. What a much better world mentally you'd be living in for yourself, and you would come up with these different ideas. You're giving yourself space to be able to have the inspired thought, so you can take the inspired action that just comes to you. You don't know where it comes from. It's just that none of us know where the ideas come. They just come. And that's when it happens the most, when you're in gratitude and faith and the abundant mindset versus lack and scarcity and fear. It's, but it's your choice. That's your choice. And it's one thing that God gave us full control over is our thoughts. And it's the most powerful thing that we have control over. And I love talking to you. I can talk to you all day, Mark. And I want to respect your time. So for the listeners, for all of you listening to this interview, you can find Mark's gift, which is your How to Be Up and Down Times. How perfect. And it's you'll see the link right here in this email that you found the link for this incredible interview. So you can just click on the link. And Mark, can you tell us what you're working on now? Well, you've been telling us what you're working on now. Anything at all that you'd like to promote? I love you.
Well, thank you. Look, I love everyone to get a copy of Ask and then go to askthebookclub.com. I'd like everyone to read a copy of You Have a Book in You and then watch the video at markvictorhansen.com and see if you're ready to write a book. And then behind that, we've got a bunch of books coming out, like Speed Write Your Autobiography. I've written with a guy who wrote for Billy Graham, actually, a guy named Steve Godfrey. And the reason I'm saying everybody ought to write their autobiography is that, first of all, you learn about your life, but you want to learn about everybody else's life. And let me just give 2 examples. I would love to know what my grandparents and great-great-great-great-grandparents thought, felt, said, did, how many kids they had, what their superpowers were, what they felt, what they wanted for their ancestral heritage, meaning me and my kids and our grandkids. And wouldn't that be nice if everyone did that? And then I told you Mitzi Perdue is obviously married Frank Perdue, and they got the biggest chicken company that's organic and holistic and no antibiotics, the best in the world. But she was born Henderson, and her daddy created a little empire that you've heard of, I think, called the Sheraton Hotels. I'll bet you even stayed in one somewhere along the line. and what happens is, in her, she's a double heiress, but she says, hey, look, in our family, because we believe in continuity of family business, which I do. I told you I own the Hansen family companies, which I created out of nothing. My parents didn't have any money, so I'm creating an empire that hopefully, and a lot of our kids and grandkids are going to work with us. Anyhow, the point is that she says everybody, to get any inheritance before age 50, has to write their whole biography in at least 60 to 150 pages and submit it to the family, or you're not an heir and you don't get to help out in the family business. I go, wow, what a cool idea that is. Isn't that a nice idea?
That's a great idea. And it's cathartic. And you're memorializing your life, you know. I love it. I think
even if it's only read by your own family or a few friends, right, and a fan.
Yes.
And it's important that we get to do this. Now, that book won't be out until September, but the point is, obviously, I'm going to keep writing books. Obviously, I own an alternative energy company. I love everyone to go look at it, called naturalpowerconcepts.com, naturalpowerconcepts.com in Hawaii, and the world's greatest inventor of stuff. Like, we do urban wind, not the big windmills you see in Palm Springs or Bayou upstate New York, but the urban wind that could be in your backyard, a pop-up windmill that goes 360 degrees, because most of them are unitary. I don't know why anyone designed it that way, because the wind keeps moving. It keeps shifting. That's why they say buffeting winds. But then we did something called pulsating wave technology, so we can get enough water out of the oceans and not oversalinate it and screw up the marine life. Because look, all life's valuable, all life's viable, and let's take care of it and make sure we got enough water, because you got to have enough energy to have enough water, water to have enough food, food to have abundance, and abundance to make a world work for 100% of humanity, which technologically we're at the first time in history can do. Now, that doesn't mean we won't have wackadoos like the guy in North Korea. Basically, the world could work and everybody could be fed, housed, clothed, sheltered, and for the first time, thanks to all this great technology, well-educated with stuff like Khan Academy and some of the universities I'm part of. So in high school you got to read the book. It's the best of times and, you know the line?
It's and the worst of times. And the worst of times.
Yeah, and I want to make it the best of times, but back to what you said, 100% accurate, Aaron, is it's all attitudinal. Zig Ziglar's line is it's not your aptitude, but your attitude that gives you altitude in business and life. Great line, Zig.
It is. And you've got it all figured out, literally. And I agree with everything you've said in this interview. I agree with everything you've said in this interview, and you have worked on it, and that's your part of staying in action. Which is just go ahead.
That's why people listen to this thing is that, when we were able to go to Italy against one of our favorite countries outside of America, you go to Florence and you see the Michelangelo's greatest sculpture called the David, right? David and Goliath story.
Sure.
And they say, how do you make it? He said, I sculpt out everything that's not David. That's what you and I got to do. We got to sculpt out negativity. We got to sculpt out sickness. You got to chip it away and get rid of it. And that's what I admire you. I appreciate you. I need you to talk to everybody that's got cancer. And I wish I could say that every oncologist I've ever met was open. But here's the first fact I wrote in Chicken Soup for the Surviving Soul, How to Beat Cancer, is that the number one killer for oncologists, 100% of them, based on all the research I got with Bernie Siegel and all the guys and ladies that we interviewed, 100% of them all die of cancer. Why? My cliche is what you think about comes about. If you think about cancer, you're going to get cancer. If you think about health, you're going to get health. If you wake up all those, who knows, Dr. Deepak Chopra says 3 trillion cells in the body. There's no way I can count that high, or in a lifetime I couldn't. I'm going to assume the number is a good number. 3 trillion cells. You start telling it happy thoughts, loving thoughts, thoughts that I'm going to stay alive. Like, my goal is to live to be 127 with options for renewal. Because if you got a high quality of life, which I do, I don't think anyone has a more high quality than I do, and I exercise every day, and I eat, 78 herbs and vitamins, then I want a high quantity of life. And I'm absolutely in love with my wife, my kids, my grandkids, the places I am, and the places I go, and the people I go with. So I don't know how Willie Nelson and I are close friends. He said, why would I ever want to die? I'm having a good time here, and I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm going to heaven, I think. But might as well have a good time while you're here.
Absolutely. Yep. And I did write a book called The Will to Live, The Perks of Cancer Through the Eyes of a Survivor, and character building children's books. And it feels so good just to get it out and get it down on paper. I have to republish The Will to Live, and I coach anybody in transition. In the beginning, I started with just cancer patients. That's how I started coaching. But then over the years, I expanded to anybody that's literally a door closes, you walk in the dark hallway, looking for the next door to open, you're in transition. I love that.
So let me recommend to you, because they charge so much if you're sick and dying, and I don't know what it costs to go through cancer treatment, but I'm told it's $100,000. I know a heart attack can cost you $250,000. So the point I'm making is that you ought to charge a lot to coach them to health, and say, look, I am going to be the number one coach to health and wellness in the world, and because I'm going to have too many people, I'm going to charge you a lot, but you're even going to do it in a group, because I really believe, let's not die ugly deaths anymore, right? Yeah. And some of the people that are doing it, the people that smoke and know that every cigarette costs you 14 minutes of life. My daddy, who was a chain smoker, because back then it was considered sexy and it gave you confidence and all that stuff. But we're talking about times during the Depression. Dad grew up. Yeah. And when he found out that smoking didn't work in about 1958, he said, son, I just gave it up. I crushed the cigarettes in my hand, because he was a big, strong guy, carried 200-pound sacks of flour around. He'd put anyone. My brothers and I are all big, but you've seen I'm 6'4", but he was big. He said, you guys don't mess with me ever. And we didn't. We loved Dad. But the point is, he said, I crushed the cigarettes. I'll never smoke another cigarette. Well, when you decide, what you just said is you got a will to live. Dad had a will to live and lived a long time. Right? The point is that he had to decide to get rid of that which is detrimental, deleterious, deteriorating, demonic, and cancer is demonic, I'm going to say, to your body. And why not go to something angelic and decide that you're going to pray your way healthy, laugh your way healthy, work your way healthy, eat your way with green live foods and all. And today, Sourpuss says it's a plant out of Belize only. Just was watching a video on TKO Farms that says they can, get rid of tumors of cancer and that. And they go, I don't know if that's true, but University of California, Irvine, where one of our daughters just graduated second in class out of 38,000 kids, says it's true. So I'm going to assume it's true.
Yeah, it's
right?
incredible.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have all the answers, but I got a lot of questions. And if you keep asking the right questions, but let me hit on that before we quit, Aaron. If you ask the wrong question, you go the wrong area. I said, how do I go bankrupt? I figured out how to go bankrupt. Now, long term, it was the right thing. Otherwise, I would have killed myself, if I kept thinking that way. And luckily, then I said, well, then how do I become a speaker? How do I become an author? How do I become the world's best-selling author? So the questions chip away at that David in you of negativity, so you release the hidden splendor within. All of us have it. All of us have a genius, and everyone is here to manifest genius. And let me go one step further. You mentioned I won the Horatio Alger Award, which means I came from rags to riches, been accessible, philanthropic, help a lot of kids get through college, and then we mentor each of the kids. But we got two guys that are Horatio winners. 10 of us win it in the U.S. Supreme Court a year, a gold medal, and you're committed for life. You're a life partner. You got to come back every year and help all these kids, and we help 25,000 kids a year get $10,000 scholarships. So it's really wonderful. But two of our winners are great orchestrators. Now, they failed in school at every subject, both of them. And you know both names, David Foster, who made Little Whitney Houston successful, and Celine Dion, and then Quincy Jones, who made a guy named Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, a lot of people very successful in Motown. And you say, well, wait a second, these guys were crap students. If you listen to what the world says, you're going to miss your great hurrah, your red carpet experience. These two guys, if you ever get a chance to see either one of them live and perform, like I'm really close friends with David Foster, is it when he orchestrates or plays a piano and Celine comes out, or in the old days, Whitney, when she was alive, comes out, you go, oh, I'm in heaven. Why? Because they are utilizing their genius, and it makes every cell in your body healthy. It makes every cell in your body whole. And he did a musical thing called Hitman. You can get it if you want. And what I'm saying is a lot of you have been mislabeled as less than you are. I hope I'm being clear here that every one of you is a masterpiece in process. Every one of you has got a unique fingerprint, iris print, but more importantly, what Aaron and I have been talking to you about is a brain-mind print. and a brain-only inventories, and that's what school teaches, which is a sacrificial lamb as far as I'm concerned, because the mind is what can imagine. The mind is where intuition, the well springs of wisdom is. The mind is where infinite opportunity exists. The mind is where you're here to ask yourself, how am I going to get rich? And you go to bed tonight and say 400 times a row, God, tell me how I'm going to get rich and what my destiny is. God, tell me how I'm going to get rich and what my destiny is. And you're going to wake up with the answer, but you better be ready to write it down, because the answer will come through, because it was embedded to you before you got over the threshold and got here. And if you're alive, you've got to still do that.
I love it. And yes, and can I add one thing to that? Because I absolutely
Please.
love this.
Please.
Everybody is born with a God-given gift. Every single one of you listening,
Correct.
Everybody on the planet,
Bingo.
your own individual God-given gift. So when you're falling asleep doing the 400 times to yourself, believe with every fiber of your being that you have a gift.
Correct.
And like
Correct.
as if it's the belief in yourself that makes the miracles happen. And miracles are normal. Like, miracles happen all the time, but we call them miracles because they're unexpected. But I want people to really, and I have the chills even saying this, I want people to really start believing in themselves, because that's how things happen. I love
Correct.
talking
I wrote
to you.
the book called The Miracles in You, which was a bestseller that's still rocking, and it just is wonderful. So I 100%
Everybody
agree
has
with
to pick it
everything
up.
you just said.
And I agree with you 100% with everything. Really, with everything. I didn't want to get into the politics, because I want to keep it really on what they can do for themselves, to build themselves up and be the best people and person that you can be. For everybody listening, I'm so excited, and I can't thank you enough. This time just went by so fast. Really, I cannot thank you enough, Mark, for being here with us today. You're just incredible.
I'm honored
and
and thankful, Erin.
It's an honor and a privilege. And could you hang on for just 2 seconds for me to
Sure.
thank you appropriately offline? And thank you. So, okay, everyone. Today's interview with Mark Victor Hansen was absolutely incredible. Incredible. Mark is brilliant, and we're incredibly fortunate to have him as a significant part of this Life on Track online event. Stay tuned each day as my colleagues and I bring you more information and insight on how you can live your life on track. Have a magnificent day, everyone, and remember to live onward and upward. Love ya.